Hello friends, and welcome to our second video lecture on topic S1.4 Counting Particles by Mass. We've got some more stoichiometry today. Our guiding question continues to be, how do we quantify matter on the atomic scale? Our focus is going to be empirical and molecular formulae. Our objectives, we are going to define what even is an empirical and a molecular formula. We're going to convert between molecular and empirical formulae. We're going to calculate percent composition using molecular formulae. We're going to calculate empirical formulae using percent composition. And then we're going to wrap up by mashing it all together. We're going to figure out the molecular formula of a compound using its percent composition and molar mass. Our definitions for empirical and molecular formulae are actually given to us in today's understanding. The empirical formula of a compound gives the simplest ratio of atoms of each element in the compound, whereas the molecular formula tells us the actual number of atoms in each element. Here we have the molecular formula for glucose. A glucose molecule has 6 atoms of carbon and 12 of hydrogen and 6 of oxygen. But I can also think about reducing these numbers down to make an empirical formula. We know that 6 and 12 and 6 have a greatest common factor in common, and that's going to be 6. So I'm going to divide each of these guys by 6, and I end up with C1H2O1. This is the empirical formula. It is the simplest whole number ratio of the atoms in that compound. Let's do a little more practice writing some molecular and empirical formulae. Butane is this molecule right here. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons. It does have actually 4 carbons, and so the molecular formula is going to start with a C4. How many hydrogens do we have? 1, 2, 3. You're going to have to trust me, some are a little bit hidden. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. H10. We can divide both of these by 2 to get our empirical formula of C2H5. This is the lowest whole number ratio of the atoms of each element in this compound. This is how many atoms there actually are in a molecule of this compound. Let's try water. Water is here. It is H2O. What can I divide both 2 and 1 by? Only 1. Which means that sometimes, like with water, the molecular formula and the empirical formula could be the same. It's okay. It happens. How about hydrogen peroxide? I've got oxygen, oxygen, hydrogen, hydrogen, H2O2. This one we can divide both by the greatest common factor of 2, and we get H1O1. You can draw the ones, or you can leave them invisible. So HO or H1O1, both are totally right. Ozone. Ozone is here. It's O and O and O. O3 is ozone. It's all oxygen. I can divide 3 by 3 and get just O. This happens sometimes. If our compound is composed of just one element, the empirical formula can be just that one element. Magnesium chloride is here. It's an ionic compound. It's an ionic compound. We know that magnesium has a charge of +2 and chloride has a charge of -1, which means that we need 2 chlorines to balance out the magnesiums. This is not the molecular formula, because we know that ionic compounds have these super cool lattice structures that have indefinite numbers of atoms. So I cannot know exactly how many atoms of each element are in every molecule because there are no molecules, they're lattices. And so there is no molecular formula for an ionic compound because it's not molecular. Makes sense. We can, however, call the formula unit of the ionic compound the same as its empirical formula. MtCl2 is the empirical formula and also the formula unit of this ionic compound. There is no molecular formula for an ionic compound. What's kind of cool about the molecular formula, as well as the empirical formula, is that these numbers are not just the numbers of atoms of each element in the molecule, but they are also mole ratios of the elements in the compound. So we talked about glucose here. It's got 6 atoms of carbon and 12 atoms of hydrogen and 6 atoms of oxygen. But I could also say that there are 6 moles of carbon and 12 moles of hydrogen and 6 moles of oxygen combined to make 1 mole of glucose. What's kind of fabulous about this idea of mole ratios in our molecular and our empirical formulae is that I can then go to the periodic table where we have our molar masses. And I can say that 6 times 12.01 is going to give me the number of grams of carbon in 1 mole of glucose. And I can do the same thing for hydrogen, the same thing for oxygen. And then we can do some super cool mass work with these molar masses and our mole ratios in molecular and empirical formulae. One of those mass things that we can do is calculate percent composition. Remember from, elementary or middle school math that percent is part over whole times 100. This is our general formula for finding any percent part over whole times 100. So what we're going to do with percent composition of, let's calculate water, we're going to figure out what part of water's mass is just hydrogen. We've got 2 hydrogens. The molar mass of hydrogen is 1.01. So I'm going to say 2 times 1.01. That's 2.02. This is the part of the mass of water that is just hydrogen. But what's the whole mass of water? Well, we know that oxygen here, there's only one of them, is going to be 16. If I add these two together, our total mass is going to be 18.02. So if I take the part that's just hydrogen divided by the whole mass of water, multiply by 100, this is going to give me the percent composition of hydrogen in water, and 2.02 divided by 18.02 times 100 gives us 11.2%. 11.2% of the mass of water is composed of hydrogen. Let's do the same thing for oxygen. Oxygen, we decided that the part of water that is just oxygen is 16. Divide that by the whole, 18.02, times 100 to make it a percent, and that's going to give us 16.00 divided by 18.02 times 100 is 88.8%. 88.8% of the mass of water comes from oxygen. So water is composed 11.2% hydrogen, 88.8% oxygen. You can always check your work to make sure you did your math correctly. You should be able to add up all of your percents and get to a grand total of 100, because percent means 100. What's super cool about our percent compositions is that we can go backwards and use those percent compositions to figure out the empirical formulae. That's what we're going to do here. So in this example, we've got iron and oxygen forming several different oxides. Deduce the empirical formula of an oxide that contains 87.47% iron. This means that 87.47% of the mass of this iron oxide is iron. Some other percent is oxygen. How are we going to figure out how much is oxygen if they didn't tell us? Well, we know that percents add up to 100. So if I do 100 minus 87.47, we're going to get a grand total of 12.53% oxygen. Easy peasy. So I have percents, I don't have masses. But it doesn't matter that we don't have a mass because percents can be applied to any mass. So we're going to go ahead and pick a mass to apply our percents to so that we can turn our grams into moles. Percent is 100. The easiest number to choose is 100 grams. So we're just going to pick 100 grams. You could totally pick like 12.8 grams, but that math is so much messier. Just pick 100 grams. If I have 100 total grams of this iron oxide and 87.47% of it is iron, that means that we have, you guessed it, 87.47 grams of iron. I'm going to set up my railroad tracks because we're going to turn those grams into moles, because remember that our empirical formula gives us mole ratios, not gram ratios. We have to turn our grams into moles. Next step, we're going to do the same thing for oxygen. So if I've got 100 grams total of this iron oxide and 12.53% of 100 grams is oxygen, 12.53% of 100 is 12.53 grams of oxygen. Now we're going to use our molar masses to turn our grams into moles. iron's molar mass is 55.85. There are 55.85 grams in 1 mole of iron. I put grams on the bottom so that grams here and grams there will cancel out. 87.47 times 1 divided by 55.85 gives us a grand total of 1.566 and lots more decimal places. I'm going to go ahead and stop here, but you can keep them in your calculator, which is super cool. Let's do the same thing for oxygen. Oxygen's molar mass is 16.00 grams per 1 mole. We put the grams on the bottom again so that grams on the top and on the bottom will cancel out. And now we're going to divide. 12.53 times 1 divided by 16 is going to give us a grand total of 0.7831. And again, you could keep more digits in your calculator. So technically, kind of, sort of, we could say that our formula is Fe 1.566 O 0.7831, but that's a big hot mess. We don't love these decimals. We want whole number ratios. So to scale up to a whole number, we're going to divide both of these by the smallest. Oxygen's number is the smallest. So I'm going to say divide both sides, both of these mole numbers, by the smaller. That means that this oxygen number is now 1. Lovely, we've got a whole number. What is 1.566 divided by 0.7831? Well, that's going to round to a 2. And so our empirical formula, which is also the formula unit because it's an ionic compound, is Fe2O. This is iron 4 oxide. Good. Sometimes you don't actually have to do that division. Sometimes you can just look and be like, oh gosh, that's almost 8 and that's almost 16. That must be a 2-to-1 ratio. So sometimes you can eyeball it. You don't always have to do that entire calculation with all the decimals. Sometimes you do though, so don't hesitate to use that calculator. Let's do one more practice problem. Here we are given the molar mass of a compound that contains 40 grams of oxygen and 31 grams of phosphorus is 284 grams per mole. So we have the molar mass of the compound. We also have not percent composition, but mass composition of the compound. And then we're asked not to find the empirical formula, but the molecular formula. How many atoms of each element are actually in this compound? Interestingly, we cannot find the molecular formula until we find the empirical formula. So even though the question doesn't ask us to do it, we're going to have to find the empirical formula first. We do that by converting our grams of each element into moles. The molar mass of oxygen is 16. And so we're going to cancel out our grams top and bottom. 40 times 1 divided by 16 is 2.5 moles of oxygen. Let's do the same thing for phosphorus. Phosphorus, we've got 31 grams. Its molar mass is 30.97 grams per mole. I'm not going to use my calculator, friends, because we're going to round this number anyhow. And I noticed that 31 and 30.97 are almost the same. So we're going to get 1 mole of phosphorus. And so our empirical formula is going to be P1O2.5. That's not a whole number yet. It's not our empirical formula yet. So on the last slide, I told you divide by the smaller of the two numbers. That's not going to change anything here. So instead, we're going to have to think for a moment about scaling up to whole numbers. Not by dividing by the smaller one, but by thinking about what we can multiply. Multiply, not divide by, in order to get some whole numbers. So this guy has a half. It has that 0.5. What can I multiply 0.5 by to get to a whole number? We're going to multiply everything in this not quite an empirical formula yet by 2. If I scale everything up, I'm not changing any values, or the relationship between the values rather. And so I'm going to do 2 times 1, it's going to give me P2, and 2 times 2.5 is going to give me O5. This is my empirical formula. It's the same ratio, 2 to 5, as 1 to 2.5, is just actually in whole numbers. What if instead of 2.5, what if my calculated value had been P101.3? What could I scale those guys up by in order to get to whole numbers? So this is like a third, so we can multiply by 3. So you'd have P30, you'd have 3 times 1 plus 3 times a third is going to give us P304. So just think about those decimals as fractions and think about what you can multiply by to get rid of the denominator of those fractions so that you have actual whole numbers. Let's ignore this. We don't want it to confuse us. All right. So now that we have an empirical formula, we can actually go and find the molecular formula that we have been asked for. What we're going to do is use this mass and this mass to find yet another scale factor. So the mass of P2O5, the empirical mass, if you will, not the molecular mass because it's not the whole molecule yet, is going to be 2 times our phosphorus plus 5 times our oxygen, and that's going to give us a grand total of, calculator says, 141.94 grams, not per mole, because we don't know if it's a whole mole yet. So I'm going to look at this mass, and I'm going to look at this molar mass, and I'm going to try to figure out what's the scale factor between them. This, what if I said 141.94 is kind of almost the same as 142? And 284 and 142, do you notice that it's a 2-to-1 ratio? It sure is. If you don't notice that, that's okay. What we're going to do instead is take our molecular formula's molar mass, 284 grams per mole. We're going to divide it by the empirical mass, 141.94, which is almost the same as 142. And then when we do this division, we're going to round liberally to 2. And so our scale factor is 2. We're going to take 2 and we're going to multiply our empirical formula by the scale factor of 2. And we're going to get a final answer of P4O10. P4O10 is our final molecular formula. And we could go back and do 4 times 30.97 plus 10 times 16.00 to make sure that that formula, molecular mass, does in fact match 284. And it does. So to find molecular formula, given molar mass and percent composition or mass composition, number 1, find the empirical formula, and then use the mass of the empirical formula and the molar mass to find a scale factor so that you can scale your empirical formula up to your molecular formula. And on that note, my friends, we have quantified lots of matter on the atomic scale. We accomplished all of our objectives. We defined empirical and molecular formula. We converted between molecular and empirical formula by finding our greatest common factor. We calculated percent composition. Remember that percent is part over whole times 100. The mass that comes from one of the elements divided by the mass of the whole entire compound. We calculated empirical formula using percent composition, turning those percents into grams into moles to find a ratio and then scale it up to some whole numbers. And then we also calculated the molecular formula when we had an empirical formula first that we got from the percent composition and also that molar mass. Again, we scaled the molar mass of the molecular formula with the molar mass of the empirical formula that we got from the percent composition. Super great work today.